I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation. This is my day, and nothing out here is going to stop me. And you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change.
Unbelievable start to this fight.
Get into a good job.
Vicious right hand. And the referee has already stopped the fight. Mamma mia. Matisse. Oh, and fires off the right hand. Jose goes down. Mora has stopped the fight. Lucas Matisse has won. He knocks him down in the flat with a beautiful right uppercut. Wow.
I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
We all know Fury, you just a phony, man. This is just for ad. You know where I am, you know what time, you know what place. I ain't scared of nobody. I'll come in your backyard, baby, for that, my man.
Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your backyard. Like a dumb Klitschko, I'll beat you, you bum. You're a bum.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. German Sports Network coming to you live. And you guys know I bring you nothing but the hottest news right now in the sport of boxing. We working. And so Eddie Hearn responds to the whole Luis Ortiz, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder drama, right? And if those of you who don't know, I'll catch you up real quick. September 3rd, Anthony Joshua is set to either make a decision to vacate or be stripped of the WBA title. Now, Luis Ortiz is considered a mandatory for that title. But the IBF title that Anthony Joshua holds gives him the right to fight the mandatory and Kubrat Pulev first. So, in Eddie Hearn's mind, he believes that they will honor Anthony Joshua in taking on his mandatory in Pulev, and the WBA will not be stripped of Joshua because he's honoring his mandatory with the IBF first. And that puts Luis Ortiz in a situation to where he doesn't have no choice but to face either Deontay Wilder or take step aside money, right, to face Anthony Joshua in case Anthony Joshua is stripped of the title. Now, it's different ways this thing can play out. And in one way, which is surfacing right now, is the fact that Eddie Hearn is not seeing Luis Ortiz right now. Right? It seems as though Anthony Joshua is going to be taking on Pulev, and we may just get the Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz on November the 4th. But I'm going to read to you what Eddie Hearn said, which was really good. And this is what Eddie Hearn had to say to Luis Ortiz and his dreams of maybe facing Anthony Joshua right now. But basically, in his article, this is what it says. Anthony Joshua plans to satisfy the obligation of the IBF on October 28th, when he faces mandatory challenger Kubrat Pulev of Bulgaria. While Ortiz will move to have Joshua stripped, promoter Eddie Hearn is confident that Cuban boxer will not be successful with that move. He believes Ortiz is attempting to get step-aside money while at the same time finalizing a deal to face WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder in November. Ortiz is hoping that we get stripped and gets handed the title. It don't work like that. If they stripped us, we would appeal, and that process would take a long time, and they've got no right to strip us. We've got to face our mandatory, Hearn said to Boxing News. We had an exception to fight Eric Molina. Then we had an exception to via a unification fight with Wladimir Klitschko. Now we're out of exceptions. We've got no more chances, but to be honest and give our voluntary Pulev the guy we've been looking at anyway. It's a really good fight. Following the rules of a unified champion, you have to go in chronological terms of which the mandatories are ordered. The IBF mandatory was ordered nearly a year ago, and the WBA was ordered a couple of months ago. We really want to fight Luis Ortiz in February or March, and we'll do a deal to fight with him now. I think that's what they want us to fight. I think they want to fight Wilder, plus get some step aside money from us. So that's why they're working on what it is that they're doing right now. But I don't see why we should. If the rules are going to be followed, which I think they will be, then I think we need to give him step aside. We rather he didn't fight Wilder, and we rather he fought Joshua. We'll give a fight with the Millennium Stadium, and he can have a nice warm-up, and we'll do the fight in February or March. So basically, Eddie Hearn is saying there's no reason for Anthony Joshua to sit around after the Pulev fight. Go ahead and face Luis Ortiz, right? It's after he fights Pulev. He wants to go ahead and fight Luis Ortiz. And when he beat Luis Ortiz really wouldn't have any option of fighting Deontay Wilder, because next will be Deontay Wilder for Anthony Joshua. See, Eddie Hearn is smart, and Eddie Hearn is looking at it from this perspective. We'll face Pulev. We'll give Luis Ortiz step aside money. Luis Ortiz could go ahead, if he chooses to fight Deontay Wilder. But if he loses to Deontay Wilder, then that cancels out a payday of Anthony Joshua taking on Luis Ortiz for Luis Ortiz. The biggest money draw for Luis Ortiz is Anthony Joshua. He's not going to get that much money if he fights Deontay Wilder. He'll get his most money in fighting Anthony Joshua. But Luis Ortiz just put himself in a position to where he's backed in a corner. And the reason why I say that is because think about his options. If he go ahead and fight Deontay Wilder, and let's just say he loses, there's no way he get a shot at Anthony Joshua. Let's say he wins against Deontay Wilder and become the WBC champion. Then now he would have received step aside money from Joshua before this fight. Then he would have became the WBC champion, and then he will unify in February or March with Anthony Joshua with the WBA, the IBF, the WBO titles, and the WBC will be on the line. That's a full unification right there. Full unification fight with Anthony Joshua perhaps maybe coming out on top. So Luis Ortiz has options. And in Anthony Joshua's mind and in his camp, they feel as though the only option they have right now is to face their mandatory in chronological order in Pulev. That's it. There's no other way around it. So the WBA may not strip them, right? Come September 3rd, they may allow it to happen. And if so, then guess what? November 4th, we may see Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz for the WBC title. Because right now, Luis Ortiz, if he play his cards right, if he go ahead and take the Wilder fight in November, he puts himself in great position on March or February for Anthony Joshua and Pulev winner. He puts himself in good position. And so it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, in reading this, Eddie Hearn makes great sense on how he's trying to do it from a business perspective. The best money for Luis Ortiz is coming from Anthony Joshua, not Deontay Wilder. But if he can't get Anthony Joshua now, you go ahead and take on Deontay Wilder, win that fight, and then set yourself up for a big money fight against Anthony Joshua. And if he lose that, then that's it for him. Go ahead and retire. You take your money and you're good. But, it remains to be seen. I just found that to be very interesting on what Eddie Hearn said, because we talked about this earlier this week already. But for it to be in more of detail with Eddie Hearn's response, I felt as though I should bring that to you all. There is in the description the full wording of Eddie Hearn's interview with Boxing News, and you can read it for yourself. The exact same thing I read, and then you will understand exactly what is going on here between this fight triangle with Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and Luis Ortiz. This is Jimmy Sports Network coming to you live. That's all I have for you guys. Please have a wonderful evening. I will be back with you all on tomorrow. We're going to discuss some college football, though. We're going to do away from the boxing. This is Jeremy Sports Network. We do more than just boxing. And it's college football season, so we're going to be talking Florida Gators versus Michigan. We're going to be talking about Georgia Bulldogs, because that's my favorite team. And we're also going to talk about that Alabama-Florida State game. Really big game. So tune in tomorrow. We're going to do things a little different. If there are any other news that breaks down and, throughout the day, hey, we're going to bring it to you. And also be looking out for Sean Martin interview, one of the best 152 pounders in Georgia as an amateur. We will be with him on tomorrow as well. So be looking out for that interview to be coming to you all, and some training footage of this guy so you can get to know who this young future world champion is. But this is Jimmy Sports Network. I'm signing out. You guys have a wonderful night. Peace.